With millions still out of power across Texas following Hurricane Beryl's landfall, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, acting as the governor, is making his tour across the state to evaluate the damage. He says, though, the battle here is with downed power lines rather than the energy push he's been calling for the last several weeks. With more than 2 million Texans still without power just a day after Hurricane Beryl's landfall, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick says he's spoken with President Joe Biden for federal assistance on the hurricane cleanup.
He said yes, and so we have agreed to that, and we are appreciative that the federal government has stepped in, and they will pick up most of the cost as we go through recovery here of the storm.
Patrick has been the acting governor since last week, with Governor Greg Abbott out of the country for a trade mission for the entirety of the hurricane. Earlier this morning, Patrick was briefed on the hurricane response at the Texas Division of Emergency Management, or TDEM, facilities in Bryan. I asked him there about Governor Abbott's absence.
Has Governor Abbott's absence at all hindered the response from the state?
No, that's, he and I have worked together now for 9 years as governor and lieutenant governor, and I've been involved in all these situations before, just not as the lead on the team, but he's been in touch with me, he's been in touch with the states.
In recent weeks, both Patrick and Abbott have called for continued investments in the energy grid. ERCOT, which manages the grid, says Texas will need to nearly double its power supply by the end of the decade. Patrick has made fervent calls for grid investments, but tells me the millions without power from Hurricane Beryl shouldn't blame the grid.
What do you want to see done in the future?
So we have to disconnect those two issues. Being out of power from the storm is not related to what we need to do for the grid, which is a totally separate issue. The storm took lines down, took transmission lines down.
In the briefing this morning here at TDEM's facilities in Bryan, Lieutenant Governor Patrick called attention to the fact that folks were coming from all across the state to respond to Hurricane Beryl, some even from West and East Texas, others, including one individual, from all the way in Florida. In Bryan, I'm Michael Atkinson reporting.